Do we know any of the details on that that was recorded on the recording? Any of those made public?
Only innuendo that Tom has very kinky, bizarre. I hate to get into people's sexual thing, even if it is Tom Cruise, but apparently he has strange and I think kinky is the best word of sexual things, but without going into the deeper specifics. So all of this, unbeknownst to Tom, was recorded with heavily concealed cameras. And daily, as David Miscavige drank his scotch in the evenings with his comrades, with the top brass, they mocked and laughed at Tom's sexual secrets. Can you believe that?
I believe it. And I not only believe it, Karen, but what's interesting about you discussing this, sometimes I think in your position, it's easy for you to say things and people not realize, well, how does she know? I mean, you were kind of married to Heber Jentzsch. So like, you actually have an inside scoop to the highest echelon within Scientology, but you're connected with many of these SPs, as we like to call them, people who were at upper echelon positions that have apostatized from the Scientology cult. And they're vocalizing these things and telling us. So there's probably inside things. Like, I wonder if your husband, Heber, ever told you any of this stuff about how they're looking at Nicole, or being in the position you were, hearing the murmuring within the cult at the top about her as an enemy, or on how maybe Tom Cruise was laughed at when they knew the things he had said on the recording. Is that the case? Or are you hearing this from other SPs who had left the cult? Can you fill us in a little more on how you know this information?
Marty Rathburn, back in the day, was a very dear, close friend of mine. And it's not a secret that I sent him generous donations, and his blogs electrified the world as he wrote up he was the vortex. He was the center of ex-Scientology world. And he wrote 2 or 3 books elaborating even more on all of this. Those books have never been, first of all, just knowing Marty on a very personal basis. Marty does some flip-flops. He seems to be, that's a whole different story. I don't want to get off the Tom Cruise. But there's no question that Marty was Tom Cruise's auditor. There's no question in the Scientology time track that Marty was the most inner circle confidant of David Miscavige. No question. It's everyone in the world who was in Scientology in the 90s. And I think Marty blew in 2005, 2007, somewhere around there. He was the lieutenant, actually. He was David Miscavige's right-hand man. So if anyone in the world was in a position to know the actual facts. No, to answer your question, Heber and I never discussed Tom Cruise. We discussed many, many things, but not Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise seemed to go more and more weird and crazy after 2005. He slowly, the Matt Lauer interview on NBC, when he was combative. I know the history of psychiatry. You don't. This is the way he spoke to his host who was interviewing him, Matt Lauer, on NBC. And the debate was, he was saying, poking his nose, that psychiatric drugs should not be taken by a mother that's depressed after childbirth. He's not even a female. He didn't even give birth, but he was dictating how bad psychiatric drugs were, right? This is him debating Matt Lauer. And Matt said, do you remember the name of the
show?
No, the girl, the actress. Oh. She was the actress who was taking psychiatric drugs.
I don't
depression.
remember. I know the interview you're talking about, and it's insane. But yeah.
Matt Lauer said, but she said that she got benefit from the psychiatric drug. And then Tom went off like a firecracker. You haven't investigated psychiatry. I have. It was just, but you see, he's aping David Miscavige. He's gone into the identity. Do you understand how people do a copycat of someone they greatly admire? The Beatles were a sensation. So tons of bands with black fringe hair, all they were being the Beatles, the copycat bands that went all around the clubs and stuff, right? That's an example of how people emulate. Look at how many people emulated Marilyn Monroe wearing the halter neck and talking in a baby voice and stuff like that. Do you remember? I mean, that's just a copycat of someone they are so admiring. And Tom kept on copying David Miscavige. That's who he was aping or echoing. And that just made the media think, oh, God, what happened to Tom Cruise? Well, I'll answer the question. Tom Cruise was being the savage combatant because that's what he found out. The way you treat people is you overwhelm them. He was indoctrinated that people are degraded beings. Most of the population are just subhuman, practically animals. This is the David Miscavige attitude. People are robots. There are only a handful of big beings. Tom, you and I are in the category of big beings. We're not the scum of the general population that are donkey and stupid and robotic and moronic. This is a Scientology attitude of the general population. Till you give them gobs of money and get Scientology indoctrination, you're just a twerp. You're just a average, practically lunatic, stupid fool. You're plebeian. You're a country boy with no wisdom at all. Only Scientology will bring you upward and take you higher. Tom swallowed all this. He was the big being.